Hello, I'm Pastor Joe, and I want to welcome you to 2 Minute Tuesdays together. Now, you may remember that over the last several weeks, we've been looking at some of the leaders of the Reformation, and we're going to continue that today. And today, we're going to take a look at my favorite theologian and Reformation leader, John Calvin. If I'm completely honest with you, John Calvin is without a doubt my favorite theologian. And I have been really looking forward to this week, to this episode, and I'm really going to try to get this in within 2 minutes, though admittedly it's going to be hard. And John Calvin is a Protestant theologian. He's been described as a pastor, a theologian, a saint, and a sinner, because in the end he is just another believer who's trying to understand this. He doesn't walk on water or anything, though he has greatly influenced the Protestant Reformation and a lot of pastors and believers through the years. John Calvin was born in France in 1509, and he became known as Martin Luther's successor, as the preeminent Protestant theologian. He is considered, really without a doubt, as the most important figure in the second generation of the Protestant Reformation. So we're going to put 2 minutes on the clock, and then I'm going to try to share as briefly as I can a little bit about who John Calvin was and what beliefs he taught. Now, as the Reformation leader, John Calvin was based in Geneva, and he was actually there a couple of different times. And John Calvin, while he was in Geneva, preached over 2,000 sermons, each sermon at least an hour in length. But he also went on to write commentaries on just about every book of the Bible. He wrote some confessional documents and a whole lot of other things. But if we're going to sum up Calvin's teaching, we're going to use the acronym TULIP. And so that means total depravity. Calvin believed that we are all sinners. And not only are we all sinners, but that sin pervades every part of our being such that we would not turn to God on our own. And that leads us to the second part, unconditional election. God chooses us, chooses his people out of grace. There's nothing we can do to earn God's love or earn God's favor or impress him. It's all about God choosing us. He believed in limited atonement, that God sent Jesus Christ to die for the sins of his chosen people. We can talk about irresistible grace, where once God calls us, once God chooses us, we can't resist. Ultimately, we can't resist. We might resist for a little bit, but ultimately God is going to win. And then we got the perseverance of the saints, that we cannot lose our salvation. Once we are truly saved, we can't lose that. So TULIP is an acronym that summarizes John Calvin's teaching. And when you take all of his teaching, to me, the thing I love about it is it's all about God. God is in control. We're not. We're simply the created beings, and God is the one that's in control. It is all about him. Now, John Calvin was a great teacher, a great theologian and preacher, but he ultimately drove himself beyond his body limits. When he could no longer walk the 100 or 200 yards to the church, he was carried in a chair. When the doctor told him he couldn't go to the lecture hall to lecture, he brought his students into his house. And finally, he just wore himself out, and he passed away in Geneva in 1564. Well, look, I hope that you have found this helpful. I hope you found it informative. I hope it gives you a good introduction to John Calvin. And, I hope this whole series has been good for you, and I encourage you to do the same thing I do each week, to like the video, share the video, and subscribe to my channel.